The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, and welcome to our ACC Lunch and Learn webinar. I am TJ Schultz, the President of the Airport Consultants Council, and want to thank you for joining us for today's session, which is titled New Technologies for Innovative Checked Baggage Screening Design. And I also thought I'd start out with a quick weather report from here in Alexandria, Virginia. We have very few flurries and absolute bare pavement, but yet our federal government and schools are closed. And I know Jennifer and some other folks are local to the area. So if you're at home watching the webinar with kids, hopefully you will enjoy yourselves. And before we get underway, we would very much like to thank Morpho Detection for sponsoring this informative webinar today. I have some important logistical notes about the webinar. First, participants on the call will be muted. We encourage you to ask questions using the questions window on the right-hand side of your screen. I will collect the questions and relay them to the webinar presenter at the end of the presentation. Also note that we will send you a copy of the presentation and a survey by the end of the week. You may also notice a slight delay as I advance the slides. We appreciate your patience as we move through the program. And now on to our webinar. This session will provide an overview of Morpho Detection's CTX 5800, which was recently added to the TSA RSEDS QPL and the CTX 9800 DSI. The addition of this technology allows for new and innovative checked baggage screening designs which can accommodate a number of applications, including screening outside of gauge bags, such as golf clubs. Following the completion of this webinar, participants should be able to apply CTX 5800 and 9800 technical specifications and operational capabilities to new airport checked baggage designs, identify innovative system designs using the CTX 5800 and 9800 to enhance screening operations while minimizing airport cost and TSA costs, and finally understand future CTX technology trends that will impact future airport projects. We are pleased to have Jennifer Banks-Herrmann join us for today's webinar. Jen has worked as a stakeholder liaison among airport officials, TSA officials, and members of the aviation consulting and contracting community for over 10 years. Prior to this role, she worked at ACI, NA, and NATA for over 5 years. This experience brings a unique understanding to the balance of airport operation and security screening requirements that helps to identify the best EDS solutions to check baggage screening programs to U.S. airports. And with that, Jennifer, thanks again for joining us, particularly on this snowy day, and I'm going to turn the program over to you.
Well, thank you for the introduction, TJ. I want to extend my personal thank you to TJ and the ACC team for their help with this webinar. And I would like to thank all of you for joining today. I hope where you are is outside of the polar vortex, but if you're in it like me, stay warm. Okay, so let's get started. The topics I plan to cover today are outlined on this slide. If you're not familiar with Morpho Detection, referred to as MDI, I'll give you a quick snapshot of our company. CTX technology will also be reviewed to ensure you all have the most up-to-date information of this ever-evolving technology. I will also review innovative design applications using the CTX product lines, especially highlighted for the CTX 5800. And of course, I'll make sure you all have the MDI team's information to reach out to us for additional follow-up. Please feel free to contact us following the conclusion of this webinar to schedule a one-on-one session with us and your design team. MDI's CTX equipment was originally Envision Technologies, then GE Homeland Protection, and now owned by Safran as Morpho Detection Inc., or MDI. Since before 9/11, this company has supported worldwide aviation security operations using the CTX products. Based in Newark, California, where the EDS technology is developed, MDI also has manufacturing facilities in Wilmington, Massachusetts for the ETDs, San Diego, California for magnetics, and Hamburg, Germany for the X-ray diffraction equipment. MDI produces for a wide range of industries including government, first responders, military, hotels, and other critical infrastructure facilities. A reference to the multitude of products is listed below. But for today's webinar, I'm focusing on the CTX product line and its applications to U.S. airport security. One highlight I'd like to bring to your attention on this slide is the vast majority of our employees that are in our services department. Over 420 highly trained personnel are at airports on a daily basis supporting these systems. Excellent service support is the cornerstone of our business success. So I'll get to the main reason for having this webinar today. MDI is pleased to announce that the CTX 5800 is approved and listed on the TSA's reduced size EDS qualified product list. On September 30th of 2013, TSA awarded a 5-year indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract for the CTX 5800 reduced sized applications, such as standalone, mini inline, semi-integrated, and out-of-gauge bag screening. This slide provides a technical overview of the CTX 5800. Note the dimensions of the overall size of the unit, 5 feet by 5 feet by 8.5 feet. Also, please note the size of the tunnel. At 0.85 meters, it's the largest tunnel of any reduced size EDS available today. The weight is also important, as the 5800 can be installed in locations where floor loading is an issue. The unit can be installed as standalone, mini inline, or fully integrated. The belt speed is 0.14 meters per second or 27 feet per minute. This is a constant belt speed regardless of whether the unit is installed in standalone or fully integrated. You'll notice on the next slides the throughput difference based upon the types of installations. The CTX 5800 has an internal UPS that allows for over 30 minutes of full operational capabilities, even with no power. This is an important feature for airport locations that have difficulty with power consistency. It also has a mux of 1 capability that I'll explain further in a couple slides. And another breakthrough in EDS technology is the capability of the CTX 5800 to screen long bags, unlimited in length with the long bag kit. And finally, the CTX 5800 has high-resolution, high-definition 3D imaging. In fact, the CTX 5800 and the CTX 9800 DSI are using a common user interface and, subsequently, the same on-screen resolution training curriculum for TSA. I'll discuss this more in depth as well in a couple slides. The CTX reduced size system specifications are noted here, which can be applied now to the checked baggage screening designs. TJ, if we could go back one slide, please. For standalone applications, the throughput identified in the TSA's Planning Guidelines and Design Standards, currently version 4.1, is 220 bags per hour. For the mini inline system using the same CTX 5800 system, throughput is identified at 360 bags per hour in the PGDS. Since the belt operates at a constant speed regardless of the installation, the difference in throughput is due to the concept of operations that TSA applies, which includes how quickly the bags are fed, the process of OSR, or on-screen resolution, for suspect bags, as well as other ConOps factors. Again, noting the weight, the CTX 5800 can be moved easily. The unit's power requirements are 220 volts AC single phase. For installations of the 5800 that are replacing existing 5500s, please note that a step-down transformer is included with the unit. We can go to the next slide, TJ. The 5800 is still pending TSA's operational test and evaluation for medium-speed applications. Upon its completion, the same CTX 5800 will be approved for use in checked baggage screening designs requiring medium-speed throughput at 504 bags per hour, again, per the TSA's PGDS version 4.1. This is the same unit capable of being deployed to reduced-sized applications I previously described, but at a higher throughput due to the nature of fully integrated systems that do not rely on manual feeding of bags. Therefore, all the same technical specifications apply. The CTX's high-resolution volumetric 3D imaging allows for TSA operators to apply improved OSR tools, which will streamline the OSR process by reducing clear time and increasing clear rates. TSA is in the process of developing a specific OSR protocol for the CTX Common Use Platform, which we expect to improve overall system efficiency. For standalone or mini inline configurations, the components listed on this slide are available in order to support the installation. The primary viewing station, called the Threat Resolution Interface, or TRI, is included. Options for TSA to purchase include passive threat resolution interfaces, or PTRIs, for use in resolving alarms using ETD either near the CTX 5800 or remotely. Powered flat conveyors can be used for mini inline. Power incline or decline conveyors in conjunction with powered flat conveyors or exit slides can be used for semi-integrated applications. I encourage you to work with our excellent project management team to discuss innovative design applications at airports using these various options. Using the long bag extension kit, bags over 1.2 meters can be screened in out-of-gauge applications. This may be helpful to remove long bags from a full inline system where they can often jam in the VHS, and have a dedicated long bag or out-of-gauge bag system using the 5800. I'll touch on the system riser in a few slides. Here are the dimensions of the powered flat infeed and exit conveyor. Note the belt level is the same as the level of the CTX 5800. On this next slide, here are the dimensions of the powered incline and decline conveyor. And on the next slide, here are the dimensions of the exit slide, of course not powered. On this next slide, the system riser can raise the CTX 5800 by 11 inches, putting the unit at standard belt height of 89 centimeters or 35 inches. There is no change to floor loading distribution. Integration guidelines of the CTX 5800 include the following: belt speed of 14 meters per second, or of course 27 feet per minute, bag spacing of 12 inches, which is per TSA's PGDS. But the spacing can be reduced to 8 inches without compromising bag jams. The largest bag dimensions per the size and shape of the bag can be accommodated as shown here with the green dimensions. Standard belt heights typically used in integrated VHS would require the system riser. Communication protocols used include ControlNet, Profibus, and Modbus. As I previously noted, the PTRIs can connect directly to the system and do not require a full multiplexing system. The CTX 5800 has its own quote-unquote mux of 1 that's capable of supporting up to 5 peripherals, such as TRIs, PTRIs, printers, etc. This allows for additional flexibility for lobby or remote alarm resolution. Multiple TRIs and PTRIs enable higher throughput of the overall system, namely by increasing OSR capability. The mux of 1 capability can be taken advantage of using the standalone configuration, such as for out-of-gauge or long bags depicted in this next slide. Note the flat infeed with the extensions allowing for radiation containment necessary when screening longer bags. If luggage positioning adapters are needed, as shown here as an example, the CTX 5800 can accommodate a number of systems. We encourage you to discuss ideas you may have for an application using luggage positioning devices. To show more specifically the benefits of high-resolution, high-definition 3D image solely capable by the CTX 58 and 9800 platform, please note the image and the object recognition capability. Silver spoons at the top left corner, the dimple detail of the frying pan in the middle, the glasses inside the case, and then the toothpaste there. This capability unique to the CTX 5800 and 9800 provides much more clarity to the OSR. And you got me, the pun was intended, since the data acquisition system used to generate this image is actually called Clarity, that you see on your left. So let's transition over to the 9800 platform, which also uses Clarity. This image, however, or this unit, however, has a full 1 meter wide bore, which is the same width as typical VHS conveyors. This significantly reduces bag jams, especially for airports that have significant international baggage demographics. Long bags up to 2.5 meters can also be screened without add-ons, as the 5800 requires. There are benefits to the CTX 9800 DSI used in medium speed applications. And if you've ever wondered what the DSI stands for, it is Dynamic Screening Integrated. The CTX 9800 was the first 1 meter wide board system using high resolution, high definition 3D imaging. And with a constant belt speed of 0.2 meters per second, or about 40 feet per minute, throughput can exceed 700 bags per hour, as we can see here on this next slide. Please also note the certifications listed below. The unit is being used in a multitude of recapitalization and optimization projects. It's also being used, as you can see, internationally successfully. As you'll see on this slide here, one of the unique benefits to the 9800 DSI is the capability of the throughput to go from medium speed to high speed through a field upgrade. The belt speed increases from 0.2 meters per second to 0.3 meters per second, and a slight modification to the gantry speed and pitch is required. Typically, the high-speed configuration is being used internationally to replace X-ray at level 1. Pending completion of the TSA's OT&E, the CTX 9800 DSI could be used in U.S. screening systems requiring high-speed throughput. So this slide shows the design highlights of the CTX 9800, all of which were successfully achieved. The medium speed throughput, depending upon bag spacing, can be between 680 and 720 bags per hour. The high speed throughput is estimated over 1,050 bags per hour. Acquisition, again, full 3D helical. OSR and inspection is 3D, which, as we explained, that TSA is in the process of developing. The continuous bag flow, as well as the dimensions, are highlighted here. MDI is continuing to improve the CTX 9800, and this is the unit currently in production. As noted here in this picture, the unit contains side access tunnels that allow for MDI service technicians to access the infeed and exit tunnels of the unit without shutting the system down. This allows for bag jams to be recovered within seconds instead of minutes. Other improvements noted here on this next slide is the weight reduction of approximately 2,000 pounds. Yes, we put it on a diet. Also, with the single conveyor running through the entire system, jams between the belts that were typically indicative of straps or bag tags is no longer a factor. Again, it's a one solid belt that's inside the CTX now. Although bag length identification is improved, that can now tolerate a 4-inch bag gap. TSA still requires 12 inches of bag gap for design per the PGDS version 4.1. It must be noted that much of the improved reconstruction and inspection of the imaging was migrated from the CTX 5800 DSI development program. It should be noted, if you do have systems that were delivered as prior to the tunnel access panels have been deployed, those were referred to as the legacy or classic systems. Those are still the CTX 9800s, and there are a couple slight variances between the two systems. Moving forward, only the units with the tunnel access panels will be deployed. Again, the 9800 will only be deployed using the side access panels and the specifications indicated on the right side here of this difference chart. So this indicates some of the benefits to the direct tunnel access. It allows for both sides to be accessed of the unit, including the input and output modules. Access panels have interlocks to shut off the X-rays and conveyors. That is the mechanism that allows for the unit to not stop its existing gantry rotations, which therefore allows the field service technicians to remove bag jams, close the machine, and allow it to be maintaining its operation without having to shut down the full gantry. This is how it's able to save from minutes of rebooting an entire system down to seconds. Passive curtains are connected at the tunnel roof. Passive curtains are a new introduction with the CTX 9800 product line. At 1.5 times the length of the classic version is in the side access panels. Fewer bags are now impeded by the curtains due to these improvements, and bag lengths are capable of being screened up to 98.4 inches or 2.5 meters. So we can discuss multiplexing. Multiplexing is the software and hardware that networks the EDS systems, or in this case the CTXs, to the user and control interfaces for screening checked baggage. This is what allows for TSA to reduce the operators from a one-to-one, meaning one operator for every machine, where it's able to utilize the images to screen OSR images to clear bags, thereby reducing the number of bags going to the level 3, where ETDs would then be used for final alarm resolution. We have over 100 MUX version 1 clusters installed globally. Moving forward with all CTX 9800 and 5800 machines, multiplexing version 2 will be used. So many of you who have utilized CTX 9000s or CTX 9400s have worked with MUX version 1. That was a clustering system that supports those systems. Moving forward, as I said, the MUX version 2 will be used for all systems moving forward. Also backward compatible for CTX 9000s, 9400s, and again 9800s and 5800s. There is a high availability and redundancy being used here. One of the main features that we have found that most of the airports are most happy with is the hot swappable functionality that allows for an automatic failover in the instance of a problem with one of the MUX servers. Also, both suspect and cleared images are saved here. The base MUX version 2 configuration, pretty much at a high level, for one MUX rack, you have 3 RAIN servers, which are all redundant, 2 gigabyte system switches, again redundant, and 2 peripheral switches, also redundant, and finally 2 rack UPSs that are also redundant. There are 2 modules for EDS scanners of the SFP switch modules, 1 KBM, and a network printer. Of course, you still have your control interface workstation, and additional options include 2 multi-mode system switches, again redundant. Those are required to integrate the 94 and the 9000s. on a MUX version 2 network. PTRIs are optional. Additional TRIs are also optional, barcode scanners and printers. These are all negotiated at the time of a project analysis with designers, with the airport, with the local TSA, which is then negotiated with TSA between MDI and TSA headquarters to identify a per airport order that's customized based upon those needs. When planning for MUX version 2, you can look at some of the existing systems already installed. Also, it should be noted that MUX version 1 is upgradable to MUX version 2. You can reuse some of the components. Of course, that's investigated on a per system basis to identify between the age of parts or reusability and feasibility of using those. Again, consulting with a project manager with MDI is the recommended way to go. Some of the options to consider when upgrading is looking at upgrading the network before installing new systems. This is being evaluated for many of the recapitalization projects that we are engaged moving forward. Of course, there's always future developments underway, many of which may include virtual clustering of systems, but this is, of course, many years to come. So again, to look at the reduced sized applications and the summary associated with the CTX58 for standalone and semi-integrated, this is approximately 360 bags per hour. It can be used for screening temporarily during recapitalization project construction. The units can be moved. They can be moved quite easily using a forklift to move from point A to point B, even within an airport based upon a construction schedule. This can be moved easily and can be up and running within a few hours. It can also be used for screening out-of-gauge bags, including golf bags, skis, surfboards, and other odd-shaped items. We've also seen a good use for small airport or limited capacity operations in larger airports. It's really capable of being used in a myriad of ways, and again, for temporary purposes or for permanent purposes. And again, the CTX 5800 is approved for reduced sized applications with the throughput up to 360 bags per hour based upon the configuration in which it's installed. So looking at medium speed applications moving forward, the CTX 5800 and the 9800 DSI units can be evaluated. We're still, again, waiting for the 5800 to complete TSA's OT&E for medium speed, but once it is approved, it will be allowed for integration at 504 bags per hour, or the CTX 9800 is already being capable of installed for medium speed applications at 680 bags per hour. Of course, these are all under assumptions of 12-inch bag spacing and 28-inch bags per the TSA's PGDS. Both of these units could be looked at for recapitalization projects, optimization projects, and still new inline projects. The 9800 high-speed applications would be for full integration at or over 1,050 bags per hour. These would likely be focused on optimization projects or new inline projects due to some of the design challenges associated with upgrading an existing airport's operating system at medium speed to high speed. Recapitalization may or may not be a possibility for the high speed. That still needs to have further evaluation conducted. As far as the status, we are just pending OT&E completion for the 9800. So this is our support team. Of course, myself and my partner, Ron Shields. He's the Director of Aviation Security with his contact. And we report to Kevin Heffernan, our General Manager of America's Aviation. We encourage you to please reach out to us. Of course, this webinar is a slight overview, and certainly to announce the CTX 5800 addition to the reduced-sized EDS QPL. But we really encourage you to please reach out to us if you would like a more in-depth discussion, where we are happy to come to meet with you, your design folks, your airport team, wherever you see a need for some additional discussion, and we're happy to set that up with you. So please contact us.
Very good, Jennifer. This is TJ, the webinar moderator. Thank you very much for the presentation. I thought that was very informative. And we also had a number of questions come rolling in, and obviously some technical questions as well. I guess right out of the gates, with the technical documents such as the CTX site planning guide or integration guides, can these be requested from NDI?
Absolutely they can, and again, this is where it'll be critical for us to get coordination with our MDI respective project manager. We can coordinate that with you. You can also request the guides through the airport's Federal Security Director, who can put forth the request through the TSA channels. Again, we partner with TSA on supporting the designs, so there are many options for which to get these documents.
Okay. Very good, and questions are pouring in. I want to let folks know we'll try to get through as many as possible. However, do know that we can capture the questions, and I believe that Morpho will be able to get back to individuals with specific technical questions. But let me kind of go through some that have come to my plate here. First of all, does MDI supply the step-down transformer as part of the TSA contract, or do they need to be procured separately?
It's actually part of the bill of materials that comes with the CTX 5800 when TSA purchases it. It's not deemed a separate option. It's actually part of the system that has the option to be used.
All right. Another question that came in, have the passive curtains had any effect on the bags as they travel through the EDS?
Certainly going from active curtains, as previously the CTX 9000 was, versus the passive curtains has, of course, impacted somewhat due to the basic physics of friction upon certain bags, especially those that are of odd size or odd shape, such as car seats for children. We recommend those be placed in tubs. There's also some bag hygiene that, of course, needs to be addressed with the airline agents and how they put bags on belts to enter the system. Many cases, tubs can be a good solution, but we're constantly working towards some of the improvements to the actual curtains themselves. Nick, would you like to address some of those improvements that are ongoing?
Sure. Yeah. I think you hit it all on the head there. That a lot of factors can touch upon this, but some of the areas that we are always looking into are curtain material, curtain spacing, and different ways to optimize this. And this is not a one-time project. These are things that MDI does on a continuous basis to improve the operational impacts of our system.
Very good. Any other comments on that? All right, the next question is the power inlet conveyor required for standalone operation like the 5500? Is there a flat inlet conveyor available?
Nick, would you like to address that, please?
Yes, definitely. It is not required to run in a standalone operation. It is possible to do a manual infeed, such as rollers, though it's not always optimized as our infeed conveyors are. We do have a series of these conveyors, both in the incline and the flat varieties. So the first question that it's not required, however, we do recommend it, and there are two different types that are available.
All right. Next question is, can the BHS OEM manufacture conveyors that will produce the same results as a flat in-feed kit? I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yes it does. If a third party was to develop their own conveyor, we would treat that almost as if it was an integrated solution. That is the only way really to tie into the system to determine when the system's ready for a bag, when it's if it's in calibration or anything like that, or and how to pass it back off to the exit. So yes, it's possible, but it would be treated as if it was an integrated solution and require the additional components needed for that solution.
All right, very good. I had a question too. I think you had some side units for each of the pieces of equipment. Do you happen to have the dimensions of the side units available?
I'm not sure I understood the question of the side units.
Okay. And I don't think I have any additional, maybe it's the side access panels? Would that make sense? Maybe not.
Well, if they're referring to some of the various components of the 5800, like the in-feed or the out-feed adjacent side units, some of those dimensions are included here, but we're more than happy to take additional information and get back to this person and the group as well, as far as specifically which dimensions they're looking for. Also, as a side note, the majority of all the technical dimensions and technical specifications associated with our equipment is included in the site planning guides for each of the equipment, which, as TJ referred to a few moments ago, we're more than happy to share with you, or again can also be acquired through TSA.
Actually, I think I do have some clarity here. I believe the side units refer to access bag jams. And again, I think maybe that information can be provided after the webinar here.
Correct. We could supply that after the webinar.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. Oops. Let's see. Over the presentation, it showed multiple generations of the device on one MUX. Has there been an installation and testing of this in the U.S., of this configuration, I guess?
There's been several installations of the multiplexing version 2. Of course, the very first went in with the first CTX 9800 installations in San Jose back, wow, I believe 2009. So it's been in use for a number of years. We have continued to develop it and improve it, including reliability as well as cross-functionality, so that it is usable also with the CTX 5800, also and backwards compatible with the CTX 9400 and the 9000. Also, to be noted as well that we are working on a unified software. Mick, would you like, or Kelly, would you like to respond to the unified software program?
I could take that, Jen. Essentially, what's the main benefit of the unified MUX software is essentially running all of those multiple platforms that you were discussing on the same MUX platform and the same software, allowing airports, of course, to maximize their number of operators and their overall operations. It also brings all of the different software versions that we've had over the years of the CBIS process and bringing them all into one software code. So any new features, enhancements, or improvements that are developed are essentially put into one software version that's available to all of our different solutions.
So TJ, I see here that there was a question about a newer version of the MUX v2 that may be coming out soon, and that would be the unified software version. And that would also allow for all CTXs to run on the exact same, which means that there could be designs with CTX 9800s and CTX 5800s on the same system using the same multiplexing network. And according to the TSOs that would be performing OSR, they would not know the difference of which bag image was generated from. So they would not know if it went through a CTX 9800 or a 5800 if they were on the same inline system and on the same network.
All right. Very good. Question here. I don't know if you've addressed it yet or not, but when is the CTX 9800 high-speed OT&E approval anticipated?
Well, according to us, we would love to see it, the OT&E commenced and completed successfully immediately, but we are working with TSA to identify when the high-speed OT&E will be able to commence, and we will certainly make sure that folks are aware amongst our successful completion of it. We, of course, based upon TSA's comments, hope that that would happen in calendar year 2014, but we're working with TSA continuously in partnership with them moving forward on this.
All right, very good. Question came in regarding the MUX v2. I have both the 9000s and the 9800s on the same MUX, such as the OSR operator gets the images for both types of machines. So I guess they're asking if they have both 9000s and 9800s on the same MUX, can the OSR operator get the same images or get images for both types of machines?
Nick, would you like to address this one, especially with the unified software upcoming?
Definitely. So if an airport has the CTX 9000 and 9800s all running on the same MUX v2 network, an individual operator can get images from both the 9000 and 9800.
One further addition to Nick's comments is that the 9800 has the capability of viewing images in the 2D high resolution capability that has been consistent with the CTX 9000 and the 9400. So in the description of it being the MUX being backward compatible, again, the operators can view it in 2D or 3D depending upon their status of training or depending upon the mix of whether there's 9800s and 9000s on the same network, as Nick was explaining.
All right, very good. The next question is, are there any PECs on the input or output on a manual system or an inline system? What functionality do they provide, and are signals available to the BHS?
Nick, would you like to respond?
So I could handle the manual system for, say, a standalone unit being the 5800. We essentially use the PEC from the in-feed ramp to send a signal to the CTX. And actually in the case of an inline system, we also use the PEC from the last one prior to entering on the BHS, the last one prior to entering into the CTX itself. And those essentially let us know essentially the arrival of a bag, its IATA information, and its official pass off to the CTX.
Very good. Quick question. Can the 5800 exit conveyor integrate with the BHS?
Yes, we do have that capability today. However, it would require an additional piece of hardware to ensure the communication with the BHS is being passed off.
Okay. And a quick follow-up here. Does Morpho recommend using your entry and exit conveyors to achieve maximum performance?
Jen, you want me to handle that one?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, we always recommend it. When in a standalone environment, we have the ability to not only just transfer bags in and out at the exact height that we've established the system to be in, but also send signals back and forth, providing auto spacing if necessary, or when in calibration and things like that. So it's recommended.
All right. And a question here: what is the overall length of the 5800 as compared to the 5500? And I guess one I had was: is the 5800 delivered in one piece, or is it in multiple sections like the 9800?
We'd have to go back just to some documentation on the 5500. I don't have it in front of me, but the overall length of the 5800 is 2.6 meters in length. And yes, it is shipped in one section.
All right, very good. Question from, I believe, an architect here. Can we get Revit and AutoCAD blocks for the new 5800?
We definitely have AutoCAD blocks available. I'm not quite sure about Revit, and I'd have to send that to my design team.
Okay, we had a suggestion here. Maybe when we send out the presentation as a final, can you post the address to obtain the manuals? Jen, is that something that can get done, or at least in follow-up with the participants?
Yes, absolutely. Those requests can certainly be sent to me, and I can coordinate with the respective project manager and coordinate that appropriately. Sure thing.
Okay. Next question is the UPS system provided for the MUX system only, or does it maintain the entire scanning portion also? Does that make sense?
Yes, I believe so. The CTX 5800 does come with its own internal UPS that not only does a controlled shutdown of the system, but actually maintains full operation upwards of near 30 minutes. The CTX 9800, its UPS is mainly available for a controlled shutdown of the system and not continuous scan.
All right, very good. I had a question. Can I use my old CTX 2500 LPA for a new CTX 5800?
I think that that would require just some understanding about which LPA they are using. If they're using the one developed by or in conjunction with MDI, it's possible, though not optimized, for operations with a system that is a continuous flow unit.
Okay, quick follow-up from the audience from a previous question. Apparently the 5500 and the 8500 are the same footprint, and this person says they're part of OTE, or whatever that's worth. Let's see, a question on the cost of the entry and exit conveyors. Are they borne by the TSA or the contract owner? Do you all know that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, TJ?
It's the cost of the entry and exit conveyors. Are they borne by the TSA or the contact or the contract owner? Or the contact?
Those are purchased by the TSA. A designer, in conjunction with the airport and the FSD, would identify a design, whether it would be standalone or semi-integrated or mini-inline or fully inline, as we've discussed here. Those designs are submitted to TSA for approval. Therefore, the options required to support the system design would be purchased by TSA on an individual airport basis per the installation requirements as approved by TSA.
Very good. And a follow-up question to some previous questions about the CAD blocks. If they are available, can you send a link where they can be downloaded along with the manual? So that was a suggestion there. Okay.
Yeah, Nick, we can work on that together.
Yes, if we can't put them for a place to be uploaded, we'll have a contact information provided of who they can get that from. That is already provided to some of the integrators that are out there, so we could definitely take that on.
Okay. Question: what is the KVA of the UPS in the 5800?
I'm going to have to pass that one over to my friends in Newark. Pedro on?
2 seconds, we're looking at it.
Okay. Very good. Just one other question, and then I believe we'll wrap up. And again, these questions have been archived, and MDI will be happy to get back in touch with you individually, and also respond to some of these in a group email as well. I guess simply, are there tubs recommended for use with the CTX 9800 baggage handling systems?
We do recommend usage of tubs, especially with particular objects, as I mentioned before, car seats or light items or other items that have straps or things to it, to avoid full baggage handling jams. We certainly want to avoid that at all costs. We've done some testing of various products. Nick, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. You know, there's not any specific brand that we recommend. We've used a number of different types of tubs and that are used with any BHS brand. Lower profile, higher friction tubs are always recommended. I believe the TSA and our COTARs have a brand that has been used in a few airport locations that they would recommend, and we suggest going towards you know, looking to them for that recommendation.
All right. I think with that, we will go ahead and begin to wrap up the webinar. ACC would certainly like to express our appreciation to you, Jennifer, and Nick, and others for participating in the webinars and answering questions, and also for the time you've taken to help develop the webinar. And also, we, of course, like to thank Morpho Detection for sponsoring the webinar today. And ACC would also like to thank you for participating today. We will be sending out a survey to participants soon, and I think we'll work with Morpho to perhaps get some of the Q&A answered as well, and we can probably send that to you all in an email. And we'll also have a survey as well. We very much appreciate your feedback on the content of the webinar, along with the webinar application, the registration process, and things like that. We'd love to get your comments on that. And, of course, we will be sending out a copy of the presentation as well. And just want to make a quick note that unlike other normal ACC Institute webinars, we do not provide certificates of participation with this free Lunch and Learn webinar to you all. And indeed, if you or your company might be interested in hosting an ACC Lunch and Learn webinar, please feel free to contact me. We had about 130 participate in today's webinar, and a number of other that registered as well. So these are normally very good and well-attended events. So in the meantime, hope you'll stay tuned for future webinars that will be sponsored by ACC. And again, we thank you for joining us today. Hope you have a nice day, and for those on the East Coast are able to enjoy the snow a little bit. So take care and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jen.